If you're not familiar, the Borderlands games are open-world RPGs, with the exception of 2 games, that are all about shooting and looting your way to a vault filled with even more loot. All of the games in the franchise share a similar look and feel, however, most of them also have elements that make them unique. So I'm going to do my best to categorize each of these for a specific kind of player, starting with this old dog. The game that started it all back in 2009. The original Borderlands is a comparatively simpler game from its sequels, but its foundation of co-op looting and shooting is so strong that it surprisingly holds up really well 15 years later. No, seriously, I'm playing it right now, mid-video. Call it nostalgia if you want, this game still slaps. It's the perfect game for those that just want to shoot things without much dialogue or story getting in the way. However, if the story is something you're after, those elements are here and worth experiencing. Pandora is rich with history, and there is more to the game's 12 weapons manufacturers than meets the eye. Characters are varied and interesting, from their looks to their names and to the weird things that they'll say. I would even argue that Claptrap is totally tolerable in this one.
Oh, come on, get down!
The humor that Borderlands became synonymous with is also here, but it didn't go full internet cringe yet like it did in the later games. Or, you know, as the kids might say today, it's Borderlands before it became Skibbity Ohio. You can look forward to that reference to be even more dated and awkward when it inevitably makes its way into Borderlands 4. If you're interested in checking this one out, you'll want to grab the Borderlands Game of the Year Enhanced Edition, not to be confused with the non-enhanced Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. This is the 10th anniversary remaster of the game that includes upgraded visuals that bring it more in line with the look of the later games, some UI improvements, and a few new weapons and face customizations. Perfect for the gamer that gets headaches from looking at dated graphics. It also includes 4 DLC expansions, and all of these are worth playing, except for Mad Moxie's Underdome Riot, which is a series of arena fights and a slog to get through. But you know what's not a slog to get through? Borderlands 2 is largely considered the best of the series. Mechanically, it's superior to its predecessor in every way, with a great balance of gameplay, story, and humor. However, it is important to note that your enjoyment of that story and humor largely depends on your personal taste. This is a sentiment we're going to be repeating quite a bit throughout the video, a la the aforementioned cringe.
Do it! Shoot me in the face! Face, 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 face! Now! Bullets in the face! Want him! Need him! Gimme, gimme, gimme!
But regardless of how much you love or hate toilet humor, Borderlands 2 offers more class build potential than the original game and earns the title of Skill Tree Lover's wet dream. That joke felt very Borderlands-like. Gearbox, call me. And speaking of wet dreams, seriously, Gearbox. Borderlands 2 is perfect for players that love a good old subjectively hot villain.
You are such a jackass.
Handsome Jack is to Borderlands 2 what Voss is to Far Cry 3. Both men managed to steal the spotlight in their respective games and gain a cult following, despite the game directing the player towards killing them for 20 plus hours. And ironically, both games came out in 2012 within about 2 months of each other. Good times. Good times. But enough about Far Cry and my youth. Back to Borderlands. Alongside more build depth, there are also 2 additional DLC classes, so even more choices and more reason to roll a new character and tackle more than one playthrough. Like the original, Borderlands 2 also has 4 expansions, but unlike the original, all of them are good, with Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep being the best of the bunch.
What's going on? I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, and there's also a VR version of Borderlands 2. So if you'd rather get more up close and personal with Handsome Jack, then this is the one for you. However, if you want more Jack without anything strapped to your face, might I suggest Borderlands the pre-sequel is an interesting one. This game came out during the really weird period in 2011 through 2013 where every major franchise decided they needed a prequel game. Often, these games weren't made by the original series developer. In the pre-sequel's case, it was created by 2K Australia, and it shows.
If you could find her, he owes me a drink.
To their credit, everyone on Pandora's Moon being Australian is a really good bit. Anyway, if you got invested in Borderlands 2's narrative, then the pre-sequel does offer some interesting nuggets, focusing on the backstories of some of its characters, particularly Handsome Jack, and his descent from a well-meaning, flawed person to a full-on narcissistic asshole. Gameplay-wise, it's mostly the same. You do get a new weapon type though, lasers, which as of now have never showed up again in any of the future Borderlands games. There's also a heavily controversial oxygen mechanic. Being on the moon means no air, and when you're outside, you regularly need to top off your oxygen or else you'll die. Many have found that this system was more annoying than fun. Remembering to breathe IRL is hard enough. The moon also has lower gravity, letting you jump higher but also creating a more floaty feeling to movement overall. And then there's a grav boost that uses up your oxygen. Fun! Overall, pre-sequel feels like more of the same and even lesser in some ways than Borderlands 2. It's an easy skip unless you really want to play everything Borderlands, are a massive Handsome Jack fan, or you just want to feel some Aussie pride. Let's put it another way. It's the Monsters University of the franchise. It's fine, I guess, but at the time we really wanted a Monsters Inc. 2 Borderlands 3 instead of a prequel. And speaking of, Borderlands has always been mixed when it comes to its writing, but 3 has a reputation as the worst in the series. That of course will come down to your cringe threshold, but hey, you can always turn off the dialogue in the audio settings if you're just looking to shoot and loot. And if you have to turn off one of the game's core pillars, like hearing its characters talk, then maybe you should skip this one. After all, you could always just play. Taking inspiration from the excellent Borderlands 2 DLC, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, Wonderlands is a fully featured game where you play as a character in a D&D style tabletop adventure called Bunkers and Badasses. So while it technically takes place in the Borderlands universe and features many Borderlands characters role-playing as new characters, it's largely its own thing and makes a great starting point. Mechanically, the game builds off the foundation of Borderlands 3 while introducing new elements like spellcasting, character creator, and a multi-class system. You can feel the game collapsing under the weight of trying to jam so much into Borderlands 3's systems, but unlike the pre-sequel, everything new that Wonderlands ties in is fun and a great change of pace. Now that being said, the humor is still very much Borderlands, but personally, I found the humor not as grating as Borderlands 3, so you know. In that regard, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is one of the lesser recognized, but better Borderlands games. It's an easy recommendation if you want more Borderlands, but you're looking for a nice change in setting. But maybe you just want Borderlands without all the pew 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 pew. Well, that's right, all of the main appeal of Borderlands without the looting and shooting. Fully focused on the narrative, the characters, and the humor. It sounds like an iffy idea on paper, but Tales from the Borderlands is actually a fantastic game. This is a collaboration between Gearbox and Telltale Games, creators of the excellent choice-driven narrative adventure games like The Walking Dead. This mashup of Telltale's style of game with the Borderlands universe is secretly one of Telltale's best. It's also essential playing if you care about the Borderlands story and universe. The plot takes place between Borderlands 2 and 3 and features some major story ramifications for the universe's major players. One of the protagonists, Reese Strongfork, then plays a major role in Borderlands 3. And if you don't care about the Borderlands story, well, this might actually get you into it, and maybe even ruin the other game's stories in the process, or even further solidify how bad I think the story is in 3. This is all thanks to Telltale's excellent writing and some strong characters brought to life by top talent voice work. It's also got one of the best musical intros in the whole franchise, which Borderlands fans know is extremely important. And if you love this Tales game, you might want to replay it because I wish that I could give the same praise to the 2022 follow-up, but I can't. I just can't. Telltale Games is not involved in this one for numerous reasons, so the game is a solo joint by Gearbox Quebec, and unfortunately, it really shows how much Telltale's creative talent was key to what made the original Tales from the Borderlands so good. There's a real lack of cinematic sensibilities and ambition to this game. The animations feel overacted and strange. There's a lot of pauses between lines that completely kill the comedic timing of the jokes. Not that there are many good jokes to begin with. There are a few interesting characters like frozen yogurt shop owner Fran and assassination bot Louis, but it's otherwise a largely uninteresting cast delivering mediocre writing for flat story beats. Gearbox has not made a game like this, and it results in a huge downgrade in quality that makes new Tales from the Borderlands really hard to recommend unless you're absolutely a die-hard franchise sicko that needs to play everything. And I mean, it doesn't even have a good musical intro, for God's sakes. Hopefully this video helped you find a good starting point for your quest to be the best vault hunter there ever was. If you find yourself drawn to a few but want to skip some of the others without getting too lost, we've got a deep dive into the entire Borderlands timeline available for you to watch right now. Let us know what your favorite Borderlands game is in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.